So on the social and political dimension of it all, we started. Maybe that's the best way to. I'll try to collect some of the remarks and the insights that were shared and try to tie them up in a kind of thematic clusters. Maybe the kickoff was really interesting because our chairwoman had witnessed a scenario exercise at a larger energy company, and two scenarios came out. One was called Ocean, which would mean that all of our energy world, the production, the consumption, the distribution of it, would be in the hands of individuals chaotically following their own paths of desire. Think smart grids and beyond that. And the other one would be the scenario called Mountains, where all sources of energy would be in the hands of, say, one or two, maybe three almost natural monopolies, and they would rule the whole energy world and decide who would get what and at which price. And then it turned out that the role of government dealing with the societal and the political and the social challenges emerging from internet developments in 2030 would have to be a position in between those two, playing with the concepts of regulation, but where can that be done, and leaving it all open and free because the internet enables all that kind of developments, but then where does it go wrong? Where do tension arise? And the first presentation gave a clear indication of where that could be, because it said, well, the digital technology is almost maturing, or the internet is maturing. It can, by 2030, provide us with more bits and bytes and pixels than we can ever consume at no price. So that won't be a problem anymore at all, and we'll have a device and it will contain all books and music and whatever that has been produced in the culture in the history of humanity. So that these problems will be more or less solved. But what is not solved is the problem of this technology trickling down into all aspects and nooks and crannies of society. And that goes in 4 stages. And in individual life, we tend to really fast adopt to new technologies, these new technologies, and look at your kids or mine and you'll know what we're talking about. In commercial life, it's emerging and maturing right now already, but it's definitely much slower, less advanced than what we do individually with it. And in the heavily regulated domains of society, the public sectors and government, for example, and education, in these areas, the adaptation or the changes that you might expect to be taking place because of the introduction of these new technologies will go slowest. And there, in these public domains, you'll see tensions arise. There you could even get something like what happened when, because of paper and printing, etc., democracy took off. It took a revolution to get it actually realized, because also there in the public domain, new tensions arose, and they led to a revolution. Now you can look at Arab Spring, or you can look at Beppe Grillo's party in Italy to capture some of that. So here you could also see like an implicit argument for the ocean, as non-regulation would enable change to take place. Then from the security point of view, it was stated that what we perceive as the internet and ICT and all these generic terms is in fact a loose collection of systems that were developed as it were to be standalone and not to be integrated together. So the interconnection of all those networks, appliances, etc. over the next decades, they will create complex vulnerabilities, and we do not begin to understand them, like all kinds of cascading effects can take place. And there is also a digital arms race going on, and it's taking on a kind of perverse side, you might say, if you look at it from the point of view of government, and it has not been mentioned apparently in the 2025 report, which is that the digital arms race you found in commercial sectors like e-banking, where risks are apparent, but it's spreading to the public domain, and there real weird things are happening because government is not only playing its role to protect people against the harms of, for example, cybercrime in e-banking, but also is creating this arsenal for cyber warfare. And if you relate that to potential democratic tensions, you'll see where we're going. Other presentation, totally different trends. We are going for an ultra-centenarian society because of ICT. Most of us will be over 100, and maybe far older and still be healthy because we have this plug-and-play bodies filled with 3D printed organs that can be automatically monitored, so we know when they need to be fixed or replaced or reprogrammed, whatever. So we can work till we're 100 years old, which means that the next generation can only enter the labor market when they're 40 years. This is just an example to show what this potential social disruption at this most primary level, just because of these developments. Interesting question is what it would mean for our public arrangements, for example, when it comes to social welfare. And here the concept of liquid welfare was launched. No, not launched, relaunched, which means we can move in and out of it, like a perpetual exchange of sabbatical and working periods to do whatever we like, or get educated, reschooled, and etc. for a really long time, over a year. And then a next problem was related to what ICT and the internet does to democracy, which is we have all this big data, and we think it will enable the many to control the few, if you will, and to create this almost intuitive type of democracy where everyone can participate. But at the same time, it's not at all clear how this real sharing of data, interpreting them, basing decisions upon them, debating them, and turning them into actionable points will eventually take place. So that's a whole new area to worry about. Then a remark about a point was made about trust. On various occasions, we have to redefine the social contract and the trust between a vastly empowered individual and a government which has vastly more power to control him, for example. But also we have to build and develop a strategy, maybe, to keep trust in, for example, the Facebooks, but also your internet providers, the Googles, etc., who know far more already now about where you go, what you are, and what your preferences are than you would want them to know. And the second order problem attached to them is what would happen if someone would really get access to this information. And the bad news was, well, they did. Google has been invaded for at least 6 months by someone, they don't know whom, and they did whatever, they still don't know. So there's a battle of trust, you could say, between the data providers, which is we all, and those that own our data, for our goods, to deliver the services we want, to protect us for what we want, illnesses, for example, and also the potential they have to do something really evil there. So the conclusions were, some kind of mountains will be needed. Maybe some mountains are not needed if a kind of permanent education will be taking place. This permanent education may not be needed in as high a degree as we expect if we just get the producers and offerers of services and products to more clearly explain and be transparent about what exactly they are doing, and allowing us the interaction we need to shape them together. So the whole paradigm of co-creation should also apply to the rulemaking, implicit in technology and explicit in democracy. I think that's about it, and I'll stop. Thank you.